just about to say hi.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jalen Herrick, Director of Marketing at SOS Online Backup, and I am joined by our CEO and founder, Ken Shaw.
Good morning, everybody.
Can I quickly get an audio-visual check? You guys should be seeing the first page of our presentation, and you should be able to hear me. Please use the chat function and let me know if you can indeed hear and see our presentation.
Or better yet, use the questions tool in the GoToWebinar software. We're going to be raffling off a Kindle today, and to go in the draw for that, you need to ask a question throughout the webinar. So find that questions tool and let us know if the audio and the visual is working as hoped.
Muted.
Great. Seems like everybody can hear us today. So let's go ahead and get started.
So today we're going to take you through what exactly our business is about and what exactly we're offering to you as a reseller. So in the spirit of getting this going appropriately and totally meeting your needs for this webinar, can I get an idea of how many of you are currently a managed service provider or reseller working with small businesses or perhaps consumers?
And while that's coming in, just to give you a brief sense of what we'll be covering in the webinar today, we'll be looking at the industry we'll be giving an industry overview, so looking at the online backup or remote backup or cloud backup industry. Goes by a lot of different names. Then we'll be looking at SOS's flagship product, which is SOS ServerSave, which is the sort of the product that's at the heart of our core partner program. We'll then talk through the partner program elements. So what does it actually mean to be an SOS partner? And then we'll be bringing in John Wagner, our Chief Sales Engineer, to do a product demo, which will happen at about half past the hour.
So we've got Michael, Owen, Luis, and Mary all working with small businesses. That's great.
And do remember, folks, that to go in the draw for that Kindle, you need to ask a question. So find that questions tool and let us know, who your customers are, consumers or small businesses. Typically in these webinars, we're talking to companies who are dealing mainly with small businesses. That's certainly the main focus of sort of our product, and that's where most of our partners fall in. But we've got consumer solutions as well, so we don't want to short-serve that part of the webinar if your focus is consumers and home users. Definitely.
So let's go ahead and get started talking about the industry a little bit and where SOS fits in. SOS has been in the industry since 2001 when we were started in Melbourne, Australia, and moved to Los Angeles in 2006, right, Ken? And around that time, we really started focusing on the channel arena, and the reason for doing that was because our product served it ever so well. And there was a huge growth opportunity in small to medium-sized businesses that was definitely present in a lot of research that was available, and a lot of analysts were working on that. And so it was very, very clear that that was a good area for us to go and to help our reseller partners get into.
And probably the best indication of that is, two things you need to know about SOS. The first is that more than 75% of our revenue, close to 80% of our revenue comes from the channel. So our entire existence as a company is very much focused on people like you and getting you into our partner program and having you be successful. We as a company are growing at roughly 70% a year, so that growth is coming from the success of our partners. We don't earn revenue unless you earn revenue. So I think the overall sort of rapid growth of SOS itself is testament to the success our partners are having in the market. And the question then really is, why is that happening? And in a nutshell, what we're seeing is a bit of a sea change in the backup and disaster recovery industry, with massive movement off traditional sort of legacy backup technology like tape and on-premises disk to the cloud. So if we talk about some of the data the channel was referencing, IDC's got a great white paper on the state of the cloud backup market, and you can talk to any of our partner specialists and get a copy of this white paper. It's good good reading and certainly the sort of thing you can pass up the chain to management. But that study analyzed small businesses in North America, and their definition of small business is fairly large, 500 employees and up. But what was quite impressive in that study is that whereas only 16% of those businesses are using cloud backup today, 69% have decided to deploy cloud backup. So you've got this tripling of the penetration of the technology happening over the next 2 years. And we're seeing that happening right now. We're seeing the biggest growth in the market coming in the small business sector. If we go to the next slide, we'll sort of see some of this trending. That early on, just to give you a size of the overall online backup market, again, using the IDC data, we've got the market this year is roughly a $2 billion market, excuse me, growing to $3.7 billion 2 years from now. And so the question then is what is driving this growth? And it's mainly businesses moving across to the technology. The early days of the industry was largely early adopters, a lot of consumers, a lot of micro businesses using cloud backup, whereas we're now seeing cloud backup become the primary choice of small businesses for their disaster recovery and backup needs. You can see that here in this slide with the sort of the growth of the red bars within this vertical stack diagram. And the overarching sort of trend here is what we call the price functionality inflection point, which is a fancy way of saying that online backup is now as good as traditional on-premises backup technologies, but cheaper. So you end up getting a better backup at a better price. The technology can handle all the same sorts of endpoints that something like Backup Exec from Symantec can, but ends up having a total cost of ownership of about 20 or 30% of a full Backup Exec deployment. We've got some questions on the line. Marco's asking, will this be archived? Marco, if you mean the webinar, then yes, we will. You'll be getting a video link to the webinar after this. It usually takes about 24 hours for us to get that out. Marco also says, where can I get the IDC white paper? You can talk to our partner specialist, Marco. So if you just call in and talk to one of your partner specialists, everybody on the line should have a partner specialist assigned to them. So if you just call into the free call number and ask to speak to your rep, they'll be able to get you anything you need.
Yeah, and we can post that number here in the chat here in a couple minutes. But let's keep the presentation moving, and let's talk about this sea change and interest in online backup and opportunity in online backup for small business versus consumers.
Sure. And so for those of you, well, actually, let me ask another question of the audience. How many of your customers have a server? So this is usually a really good watershed sort of question. There are lots of small businesses who, sort of 5, 6 people who get by with just laptops and a few workstations, and then you've got small businesses who actually have a server deployed, whether it be a file server, or a small business server, an Exchange server. So I'd love to get a sense of how many in the audience today, how many of your customers actually have servers that you know exist, or you perhaps are maintaining, or you perhaps sold to them. And Lewis has got a question about where we back the data up. Lewis, we're going to be covering that later, but we've got data centers all around the world. All right, and while those questions are coming in, just talking to this slide. So for those of you who are familiar with some of the more traditional backup solutions like Backup Exec, which is certainly the 400-pound gorilla in the small business backup market, historically, let's say, cloud backup has been file folder focused, so it hasn't been handling things like complex application data. It hasn't been good for things like Exchange backup, bare metal backup. That's all now changing. So you've got cloud vendors like SOS, and we're certainly at the forefront of this movement, who have taken what's traditionally regarded as large business backup or enterprise backup and combined those sorts of technologies into our cloud offering. So with us, you've got a total solution which lets you do laptops, workstations, as well as servers. We're largely focused on the Microsoft world, so the types of servers that we focus on are SQL server backup, small business server backup, Exchange server backup, SharePoint server backup. But then you've also got true business continuity and disaster recovery offerings from us, which is bare metal backup, so you can bring back machines from an image back to the exact state that are at. Structured application backup for those complex environments, so Exchange, SQL, SharePoint are the big ones. Central deployment and monitoring. This is really important as a reseller. If you've got 20 clients out there running your backup solution and you want to be able to manage all of those essentially through a single pane of glass, that's the sort of technology that hasn't sort of traditionally been available from the cloud backup vendors. It now is, but SOS has got a great management control panel that lets you manage up to 5,000 different endpoints through one web browser. we've got some questions coming here. Most of the people on the line seem to, okay, so again, building on the trend that most of the people on the line are selling to small businesses, most of them seem to have servers as well.
And Windows-based servers, too.
Windows-based servers, yeah. Lewis has got another question. Can SOS coexist with backup exec? Absolutely, Lewis. You know, if you've already got backup exec in place, there's nothing stopping you from deploying this alongside it. But, you know, the way we would recommend you deploy this for future servers that say you're selling or maintaining is to use this as your primary backup solution. It does everything you need it to do. It does bare metal, it does Exchange, it does SQL, it does SharePoint. It does both on-premises backup as well as cloud backup. And we're going to see all that when we go to the product demo in a few minutes.
So let's go ahead and talk about what exactly is in the reseller program and how these guys can incorporate ServerSave into their features for their clients. So what we call our partner program is the SOS 360-degree partner program. And the reason that we call it that is because it's all-encompassing. It is a business in a box for you. So not only do you get this software technology that performs online backup for SQL servers, Exchange, SharePoint servers, file servers, etc., but you are getting a web package as well that will allow you to do transactions and free trials online. You're also getting sales and marketing materials. You can rebrand all of these things. And no hardware purchase is required, which is a huge differentiator between us and some of our competitors. There's no giant $2,000 box that you're required to buy to get started with us. It's all on a monthly basis or annual, should you so choose and want to save some money. But it's very, very easy to get started. Also, we have weekly live trainings, which you guys will probably find really helpful. And integrated billing, I think I skipped over that one unintentionally. And sorry.
Oh, no, it's really everything you need to run a backup business. So it's product, it's training, it's billing, and it's marketing and sales. So even down to the way our sales organization here is structured, everything's designed to help you, the partner, sell through. So your partner specialist who you work with to become a partner, that person's then available to work with you and does work with you after you've become a partner to help sell your customers. Now, this is particularly important when you're just getting started. So when you're just starting with SOS, you probably don't have much of a sales pipeline. You're probably still learning the product yourself, or your staff are still being trained on how to sell it and deploy it. And that's where all of these materials we bring to bear become crucial, because you've got, as soon as you're delivered as a partner with SOS, which takes about a week, you've got a rebranded product. You've got all of our sales and marketing material rebranded to your brand. And then you've got access to your partner specialist who can help you sell some of those early key accounts to really get you in the black almost immediately. So a really important sort of quick launch into the business, which our partners have found, really useful over the last couple of years.
And also you've got dedicated support to help you with technical or administrative issues that you might have, which all of our partners, of course, find really handy.
Right. And just to sort of put some numbers to what we're talking about here, like SOS, we're going on nearly 1,000 MSPs and VARs in our partner program now. Most of our partners are MSPs either because they started as break-fix shops and then they became have transitioned into the MSP model because they're trying to drive more recurring revenue from their customers. We actually have a lot of partners who were just, say, small break-fix IT shops and used online backup as their very first service offering and used this to make that transition from being break-fix into being an MSP. So it's a very tried and true partner program. A lot of success stories in the SOS partner program. We as a company, we're not that small anymore. 150 employees around the world. We've got 8 data centers around the world, to Lewis's question from earlier, headquartered here in California. So we're doing this webinar from today, and most of the product management, partner support, and partner marketing goes on. So there's all of that is to say that there's a deep array of resources that you can lean on as an SOS partner to be successful in this space. And we've taken the best practices from that partnership community and distilled them down into things like our Partner Resource Center, which is a library of marketing materials that you get access to on day one. Let's go to the next slide, Shay.
Yeah.
So this slide just puts our partner program in context with the others, and it highlights the way we think about partnership programs, because most companies just focus on the product, and the product is absolutely the most important thing. And I think things like, the New York Times write-up of our company or the PC Magazine awards that we've won now 4 years in a row shows that we pay an enormous amount of attention to the engineering. But that's only part of the equation of success when it comes to our channel and to our partners. All of the other things on this slide are extremely important to you when you're getting into the backup business. So partner support, we're now doing partner support right here in Los Angeles. So you've got 3 people here in Los Angeles that you can work with, and then we've also got 24/5 support as well, backing them up from our technical support department. Rebranded software, rebranded marketing materials, we've sort of covered a lot of this. Things like hosted billing, this is really important. If you're not set up to do e-commerce yet, well then getting ready to process credit cards can take, a month or 2, whereas we've got solutions that we can get you up and running with that within about a week. No hardware required. So, some of our competitors like a Seeger will require you to spend thousands of dollars on buying appliances to deploy in your customers' premises. We don't do that. So it's all straight to the cloud and you're up and running straight away. This next line is obviously very important to everybody here this morning, which is the cost. SOS has got the lowest wholesale cost in the market, or put another way, we give the most margin to our partners. Most of our partners are earning 50% or more. We've got some partners who are earning 70% margin on this product that they're selling. So it's a recurring revenue stream that is very high margin.
And we've got another slide later on in the presentation that actually takes you through each package that you could purchase with us and how much money, even on a low basis, you'd be able to make.
Right.
So Lewis is asking a question about excluding U.S. servers from storing client information due to some concerns with the Patriot Act. As you can see from the data center line on this slide right here, we have a lot of options outside the United States, and we can definitely accommodate that for you.
Right. When you become a partner, you get to nominate where your data goes. So if you want your data to go to Canada, we can do that. We can ship it to Australia, the United Kingdom, India, the Ukraine, and very soon continental Europe. We're going to be setting something up in Amsterdam. So there's quite a large data center footprint as it is, and that's, again, another one of our competitive sort of strengths is our global data center footprint. Any other questions on the partner program? We're next going to move in and talk more about the product and the technology. But if we've got questions about branding or marketing or what it takes to become a partner, please don't be shy. And remember, you've got to ask a question to go in the drawer for that Kindle. I know you all want that Kindle. So while you're thinking on that, let me start with the discussion of the product. At a high level, the SOS product's always been about backing up all of your data no matter where it's sitting. So it's taken a long time, but what we've really wanted to be able to do is complete this diagram that you've got on screen. And what you can see here is sort of, at a high level, this diagram, on the right-hand side, all the green planks, we've got business needs for backup. On the left slide, or the blue planks, we've got consumer needs for backup. Although you notice that this desk life node and this mobile life node are both green and blue, which just indicates that the products that we have here are useful for consumers and for business. So let me start at 11 o'clock and go round the clock. Back up your cloud life. This is sort of a future area of technology development for the company, cloud-to-cloud backup, so the ability to back up Facebook data, and in the future we'll be able to back up Salesforce.com or NetSuite or other cloud-based business databases. Back up your desk life. This is probably one of the things you first think of when you think about backup. So here we're talking about backing up laptop fleets, workstations, and managing them all centrally through one pane of glass. It's great to be able to back up 100 computers, but it's useless unless you can really manage them centrally. Mobile backup is sort of a new, extremely rapidly growing sector of the backup industry, where all of a sudden we've got more and more valuable business data sitting on mobile devices, whether we're talking about tablets or cell phones, iOS or Android. And so we're the first of the backup companies to release backup apps for these devices. We've got a full Android backup application. We've got an iPhone backup application. We can back up Android tablets. We can back up iPads. And so this is very much an area of future focus for the company, and one that we're already in today. But where the largest business opportunity for you all is in the right-hand side of this diagram. So backing up your file data. This is, put simply, backing up your customers' file servers, which is the bread and butter of backup and disaster recovery. Here at 3 o'clock, back up your application data. We're talking about backing up SQL data, Exchange data, SharePoint data. And this is probably the most profitable sector of this entire diagram, because the data that we're dealing with here is usually mission critical to businesses, and businesses will usually happily pay a relatively high fee to have this data protected and have this data going off-site automatically. And then lastly, at 1 o'clock, you've got backup your system data. So here we're talking about bare metal backup, taking those images to the cloud, even being able to mount those images in the cloud to run them if we need to. Marco's got a question. What does it take to become a partner, and any basic knowledge needed prior to? Marco, it doesn't take much. I mean, you need, in terms of basic knowledge needed prior to, we've got great training programs in-house, so I wouldn't worry too much about the training programs. So then the number one thing it takes to become a partner is to have some customers to sell this to. So most of our partners, when they're joining the program, can very quickly take this out to their customers and very quickly be profitable in selling this. So the rest of it we can give to you. We can train you on the product. We can train you on the sales approach. We can give you the marketing material on the product. Marco also asks, how will partner site look like and how is this basic pricing structure? We're going to look at pricing in just a minute, Marco, and your site can look however you want it to look. And then Mary says, would people buy online backup from a company that does not manage their network? Sure, Mary. I mean, we don't manage people's network, and people buy online backup from us all the time. So I don't think that's a blocker by any means. All right. So let's talk now specifically about ServerSave and what comes in the ServerSave product. John Wagner's going to be doing a demo of this in a few moments, but I'll just at a high level, the ServerSave product gets you these 6 pieces of technology. So I'm actually going to start in the middle here, the Online Backup and Recovery Manager. This is the core cloud backup and recovery engine. So this is what takes care of getting files, encrypting them, compressing them, streaming them to the cloud, making sure they've got version integrity across long version chains, provides the unlimited versioning, lets you get to your data from anywhere. So this is the core of the overall solution. And then we've got some other pieces of technology here that sort of support it. So Bare Metal Image Creator is a product that lets you take full bare metal images of computers, lets you recover back from those bare metal images in the case of complete catastrophe. The Exchange Backup and Granular Recovery product, this is really targeted for Exchange recovery scenarios when you need to do, say, full database recoveries or mailbox level recoveries, even down to message level recovery. So an extremely powerful Exchange recovery tool. Workstation Backup, we're actually phasing this out, but for the moment, Workstation Backup is just a consumer-friendly branded version of the Online Backup and Recovery Manager. So these two products here are being merged. The Premier Web Integration is really the core of the business in a box that we're talking about. So this is a web-based application in which you get a ticketing system to provide support tickets to your customers, an e-commerce system so you can take credit card transactions, a user management system so you can see all of your backup accounts, really everything you need to run an online backup business on a daily basis. And then lastly, the mobile application. So this is technology that lets you get to the files in the cloud from any mobile device anywhere in the world. And so when we compare that to our competitors, or if you compare the two SOS products, SOS ServerSave versus SOS for Business, you start to see that the SOS technology stack's quite robust. So just talking through some of the highlights, and often there are questions here, things like military-grade security. So we're using AES 256-bit encryption all the way through our product with optional private key encryption. A lot of fancy words that just means we cannot access the data that we're backing up, which makes us HIPAA compliant, which makes us Sarbanes-Oxley compliant. We've got government customers, banks, large financial institutions, all who trust our technology because of our radical focus on security around here. So there's 2 modes you can run the SOS product in. One's called UltraSafe, which engages all of the security protocols we've just been talking about, and makes this data fundamentally secure with 3 layers of encryption where data is encrypted on the client side in the sandbox, shipped over an encrypted connection, and stored encrypted on the back end. 8 megabit transfer, where in any test that anybody's done, we're always the fastest online backup provider out there. We don't throttle our connections, so whereas our competitors typically throttle at 600 or 700 kilobits, SOS, most of our partners are transferring at 8 megabits plus, with some partners who are transferring at 30 megabits to our data centers. Local backup, web access to files, mobile device access, SOS Forever Save. So we keep every single version of every file. So if a file changes 365 times a year, we'll save 365 versions of it, which again is a very differential feature. We're the only one in the market doing that. And that's for free. You don't pay for that, by the way. Your customers don't pay for it, and we don't pay for it. Got some questions here coming in. Bruce asks, do you support VM backups such as VMware images, Hyper-V, etc.? So Bruce, sort of yes and no. We don't natively connect to any hypervisors, although we're working on that, and look out for something on that before the end of the year. But lots of people are deploying our technology to back up VMware, and they're doing it simply by installing our product on a server in the network and then having the VMware images be backed up to a CIS share or a network share on the network, and then just backing that up to the cloud. So with that two-step architecture, you very much can back up VMware and Hyper-V. And then toward the end of the year, we'll actually have a native connector for VMware. James has got a question. Is there a way to seed a full backup in the cloud by using external hard disk drive? Absolutely, James. We call that our physical media upload service. Mary asks, can you sell to home users as well as businesses? Mary, definitely. The home user segment is very profitable, but it's very difficult to compete in. So if you've got businesses as well, then those are probably quicker, easier wins for you as a business. So typically our partners who are successfully selling into the consumer space are also selling into the SMB space too, because it's easy to get started there. Bruce wrote, so direct backups are in the plans. Yes, Bruce, if you're talking about directly connecting like via the VDDK to ESX server and sucking the VMs out of it and going straight to the cloud, absolutely in the plans. But you can achieve the exact same thing right now, so I wouldn't sort of wait for that, if you know what I mean. Lewis also asks, what is the maximum file size that can be backed up? Lewis, that's going to depend upon the requirements of your system, but you can happily back up a terabyte file with product, so long as your machine's got a good deal of RAM and a decent processor. So a lot of work's gone into, generally there are two big requirements we gave our engineering team with the latest backup engine they've built. The first is they've got to be able to support 1 million files in a backup set, and the second is they've got to be able to support a single terabyte file. So that covers most people's requirements. And again, if you look at many of the other products on the market, most of them will fall over at 50 or 100,000 files. Bruce also asked, do you have agents to back up Linux file system, etc.? Bruce, again, so what you would do is you would use SOS and you just back up over the network. So you would read from your Linux servers and back those up to the cloud. Typically in those kinds of environments, what we recommend is that you deploy one central backup server that's running the SOS technology and have it go out and read from all the network locations that you want to back up so that it all aggregates to that one on-prem server. That way you've got an on-premises backup as well. And then it backs up from that on-prem server to the cloud. That can then happen at a slower rate because you've got the on-prem backup and then it's trickling off-site to the cloud at 10 megabits, for example. All right, so I might flip through some of these slides and just get down to the product demo. We've been joined by John Wagner, our Chief Sales Engineer. So this slide here gives you a sense of where we've got solutions. So if you're sort of designing your online backup business plans, this is a very useful slide to reference. On the left here, the horizontal rows, we've got the industry segments you might target from a sales standpoint: consumer, micro business, small business, enterprise laptop fleets, and then enterprise servers or the data center. And across the top, we've got all the different types of backup needed. So starting on the right, mobile backup, then file folder backup for file servers or endpoints, Exchange backup, SQL backup, bare metal backup locally, as well as bare metal backup to the cloud. You can see that SOS has got a footprint in many of these areas. So most of our partners wouldn't tackle everything here. They tackle sort of 6 or 8 of these cells, or they might go all the way through the micro business line and sell everything through here, or they might go all the way through the small business line and sell everything here. But the point of the slide is just to emphasize that we do have a very wide technology footprint. So unless you are selling to the very largest of enterprises, then we've really got a product that's ideally suited for you. Our focus is businesses from anywhere from 5 employees to 1,000 employees. That's not to say that we don't have a great consumer solution. We do. That's not to say that we don't have a great solution for companies bigger than 1,000. We also do. But most of our partners don't sell to those markets. Most of our partners are selling to the people in the 5 to 1,000 sort of market space. All right, so from a pricing standpoint, there's some questions earlier about pricing. The first thing you've got to know about pricing is that we're always trying to make sure that our partners get 50% margin. So the list price of SOS ServerSave is $129 per month per server. So this is what you would sell it to your customers for, although many of our partners actually mark this up. So we don't force you to do this. This is just our recommended retail price to you. We've got some partners selling it for as much as $500 per server per month. The cost to you is $80 per server per month. So, as you buy in volume, it goes down to $36 per server per month. So on a ServerSave 25, if you're making 75% margin on products sold. So again, it's primarily driven by the number of servers that you're selling. So all of our pricing can be calculated off that. In this bundle here of the ServerSave 5, you can see that your margin is $49 per server per month. So your profit or your free cash flow is $246 per month. So that's on the basic plan. Most of our partners very quickly sell 3 or 4 servers right out of the gate, and then work on building their business over time to sort of move up to these higher packages like server 10, 15, 25. But again, the easiest way to remember the pricing is recommended retail price of at least $130 per month per server, and a cost to you of $80 per month per server.
And the gigabytes associated with each of these plans can be freely used to back up whatever you and your clients want. You don't have to use it to back up your servers. So perhaps one of your clients has a server with 150 gigabytes on it, then that leaves you with another 100 maybe.
Right, and that also raises a good point that you get 1,000 endpoint seats with that. So that's 1,000 seats for iPhones, tablets, laptops, workstations, whatever you need. It's very unlikely you're going to hit up against this 1,000-seat limit. You're more likely to hit up against the 5-server limit before you hit up against the 1,000-seat limit. All right, so let's push ahead and look at the demo. In the demo today, John is going to go through sort of the core elements of the product, starting with our partner dashboard, which is the sort of where you manage your business from. We'll look at the web integration package, which we talked about earlier, which gives you e-commerce integration, gives you customer support management, so you can sort of punch support tickets with your own customers. Then we'll do a client-side demo of ServerSave, so we'll be backing up a file server, backing up an email server, recovering an email server, probably, right, John?
Yeah.
And then the generalized cloud recovery and reporting, so our My Account portal, our central management technology. The environment we're demoing looks like this. So this may be a little bit small on the screen, but if you, the right-hand side of this diagram just represents the SOS cloud, so you can sort of ignore that. And this top left box represents an example company, so one of your customers, really. And within that environment, there's 2 ways of backing up data. For small payloads, usually payloads less than a terabyte, we can just go straight to the cloud. So an email server would back up straight to the SOS cloud, a database server would back up straight to the SOS cloud. Whereas then for larger payloads, and this is relevant to the questions we were getting earlier from, I think, Lewis, about, oh, sorry, it was from Bruce, about backing up Linux and backing up other products, you can always follow this 2-step pattern where you have an SOS staging server or an SOS backup server, and you would probably brand that as your own backup appliance or backup server on premises. And so we back up servers on the network to that staging environment, and then from that staging environment up to the cloud. So out here, Bruce, this could be a VMware server, or ESX rather. It could be Hyper-V, it could be a Linux box. It really doesn't matter. So we can have, 5, 10 servers backing up to the staging environment, and then having the SOS Cloud Backup and Recovery Manager back up from the staging environment to the cloud. Does that diagram make sense, or is that confused matters for people? Hopefully it does. I'll turn it over to John, who's going to fire up a demo for us.
Okay. Just give me a second here to get logged in.
So while John's doing that, are there any questions that Shaylin or I or John can answer? David's asking, does the staging server use a server license? David, it depends. If it's just running the Cloud Backup and Recovery Manager, no, it doesn't. If it's using any of the more advanced technology like bare metal backup or Exchange backup, then yes, it does. So Bruce asks, when you get to a good point to answer, please discuss how you implement redundancy in your cloud. If I'm in the US, am I dependent on one data center here being up, or do you replicate your data to other physical locations for failover? Since 2001, we've never had an outage and we've never lost data, so that's the first point. Second thing is, yeah, we've got an enormous amount of redundancy built into the clusters that we deploy. We can replicate between data centers, although that comes at an additional cost to partners. So most of our partners just choose for our standard level of protection, which is going to a single data center, and then side as well. So at least 3 copies of the data sitting somewhere. In the past, we used to replicate to 6 different data centers around the world, but that quickly became cost prohibitive. Although that can still be set up. So if you've got more advanced needs around replication, then we can certainly set up customized replication schedules for you.
Okay. So what I've shown you here is this is a place where you would go to create a backup account for your customers, assign a license key for image-based backup or for Exchange, grant, or recovery. Also a place you go to monitor any of your online backups over here in Central Management. And then we have some updates here, updates and news. This is very helpful. Partner support hotline. So this is where you want to go to look for new software releases or I don't know, videos, yeah.
Product information.
You want you to with your partnership with us. So I want to start right here with add an account. So we click on here, and we get a. Sorry about that, gentlemen. It usually auto logs in, so I don't know why this is happening.
So I think it was Marco earlier who had a question about what the site looks like, and you're going to see an example of what that is here in a few minutes.
Right. In terms of what a site will look like, it's very much variable and based on what your branding and your design looks like. So, ability to add accounts and manage your accounts. On the right-hand side, central management, and then at the bottom, your server backup and recovery. There's also an additional portal that exists alongside this, which we call the My Account portal, which is what your customers use to get at their data. What we're going to walk through now is your central management system, and then walk through what a user would see if the user wanted to recover it. Because an important part of this is that the users can now do their own recoveries, which significantly reduces the burden on IT when it comes to this kind of backup.
So typically what you would do is you'd add an account, you would assign it a license key, that username, like we've done here, and then you would download that ServerSave backup client, which is our helps you install and license the applications for that customer. So I have it here on the desktop. And you don't need to install this, you can just run it. And after you run it, you log in as that new backup account you created for that customer. And we'll get an update, that's good. So there's auto update built in. Let me just log back in. And with the auto update, you know, we're always going to be able to give you the most recent files and folders that you've backed up. So you see here that we have the online backup recovery installed. It's right here. And then after that, we'll be able to install it. We have our license details right here. The same thing will go for Exchange Grant Recovery. You would install it and we'll be able to license it. So I already have these programs actually installed. So I'm just going to launch them. Let's see here. So we have Image Creator. That's from our partner StorageCraft. They make some great software for us. Uses for local backup as an image. I'll show you that in a minute. And we have our online backup recovery software. This is what Cam was talking about earlier, where you'll be able to back up all your endpoints. You get up to 1,000 licenses to do that, so you can install this on your file servers. Any of your servers to back up important data. You can back up your desktops, laptops, all that. And you'll be able to go to any location to recover your data. What I mean by that is, just on this Restore tab here, I can access all my systems. So very quickly, I'll go through a backup. We have an email address will be sent to you after the backup is finished. It'll tell you how many files were in the backup set, how many were backed up, how many were not. Usually it might be if you have that problem, there could be some errors, and they'll be listed in the email report, and that's important to all you. And then the next step would just be to, just run a backup, basically. And it looks like I've already backed up those files before. Just 1 second here. Might have a backup already running. The finish button is grayed out.
I think you got to put an email in, John. You get that little exclamation mark.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry about that. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we have our backup running. I don't know if Kim mentioned this before, but this new backup version we're running right here is 40% faster. It supports millions of files, huge files up to, like Kim said, up to terabyte. What the nice thing about it is it's actually encrypting and compressing the file as it's being sent to the cloud, rather than copying the entire file to your hard drive first and then compressing, encrypting, and then uploading. So this method works very well. Much, much faster backups. In regards to restore, you hit the Restore tab, Online Restore. And I'm able to see all the systems I backed up. So the nice thing about the software is we try to make it very easy for you to recover information. So if the software is installed on your desktop or laptop, you can do a recovery from any of these servers here to your desktop or laptop, or any other computer outside your network just by having the software installed. So it's very easy to recover files. Additionally, you would be able to recover information from multiple machines at once. So I'd be able to select a folder on this machine here. I could select another folder on this machine down here, or just one file if I want to. Pick something smaller. And then I'd be able to just do recovery of those two items. I can recover to my default location, and if I just want the files, I can uncheck this box. But if I want like a lot of organization, like show me the folder paths of all the folders, take that box, and I'm going to choose a new location and go to the root of a hard drive, because when I recover my files, I don't want to recover them in a folder within a folder within a folder, because I could recover files that actually extend the original file name length past 256 characters. So this is really safe to do, and it's going to create a folder for any of the files that I'm recovering, and a folder inside that as well, showing the original path.
We've got some questions here on the line. David says, for advanced recovery with ready to deploy VMs, it will require license, correct? David, yeah, that's correct. Bruce says, can we implement a customer site that uses one of our domain names for the URL? Not quite sure what you mean by that, Bruce. Maybe give me some more detail. Can we implement a customer site that uses one of our domain names? When we set you up, we usually set you up on a new top-level domain. So, bruceneesonlinebackup.com, something like that. Is that what you're referring to, or do you want your actual customers to have a rebranded portal? Okay, yeah. So if you want to brand it to your business, absolutely, everything will be branded to your business. I
just want to go back to the other question about the advanced recovery VMs. You are able to do that very quickly. There is some technology to be able to boot your images as a virtual machine very, very quickly.
We're going to see that, right?
Yeah. No, we don't have that demo as far as demo.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a recovery going. You can see how it created a folder with the machine name. I can open that up and I can see all the information inside. It's all organized. That's what I wanted to show you. And as far as the other machine here, we have another machine. So it's doing two recoveries at the same time. So that's what I want to show you. Moving on, there is a classic view in the software that you can use to delete information or recover. And this also does drill down. You'll be able to look at your individual versions if you want to. Just drop down here for your files. You can also go ahead and right-click and delete. Recovery process is exactly the same as before. All right, next thing I want to show you guys is the web portal. This is really great because you can just go to a web portal from any computer, and you can recover or share any of your files or folders up to 500 megs. And this is very useful. So if you have an IT person on site or an office manager or someone who actually can do a recovery for a user, they might email the user, call up, or the office manager, hey, I lost a file, can you get it to me? They would say, okay, what file was it, where was it? They could either go here and search for the file name, or they could actually go and find that file by clicking on the system here. And then I can share or recover any folder or file, like I said, up to 500 megs. I can keep drilling down to actually find the files that I want to. Almost there, guys.
And those error messages are just because we're running this on a lockdown Windows server, so you can get rid of those by telling IE this is a trusted site.
So you can see here we have a drop-down even. So I do have versioning within my files. I can take a version I want. I click share. I type in the name of the share. I type a little cute email message. Ha ha, you only want to recover the file you needed. You go over here, click friend, type in the first name, email address, click share, and then they'll get an email with a link to download that folder or file. Now, I know I said recover up to 500 megs. Obviously, I was trying to say that that's only the web recovery. If you need to recover anything larger than 500 megabytes, you can just use the software on any Windows machine. We have the reporting section up here. This is very useful. We do a report on based on date range. So I can make this a little closer together if I want to, and I can see all my machines backed up, if they backed up that day or not, and how much was backed up in that session.
Got some questions here on the line. Lewis is asking, can we limit the amount of data backed up per client? Lewis, absolutely. You can just control all of that through the online backup and recovery manager. Bruce is saying that this is the portal that he wants to customize. So Bruce, you'll notice in the top left corner here it says Acme. This is just sort of us demoing the fact that everything here can be skinned. So this would be totally branded to your business, and this is the portal that your customers would be interacting with. Bruce has also got a question here about can we disable some of those share options, Facebook for instance. Bruce, not at the moment, although that is something that we're looking at doing, is being able to give partners the ability to actually customize this portal. Lewis is asking if the URL can be changed. Lewis, the URL of this particular portal can't be changed, but there is a different customer-facing portal that we give you, which we can give you, that can be put on a custom URL. Typically, you would just redirect URLs to that particular URL. And Bruce is saying he wants to remove the Facebook share. Right. Okay. So Bruce, that's not something we support today, but customizing the entire user experience of the My Account portal is something that we're working on.
Now, I'm going to log in using Firefox for my account system just because, like, Internet Explorer is locked down. It's creating some trouble. So I'll do that for you real quickly here. So until it gets logged in, I'll show you a couple other things. We also have, like I said before, the awesome local backup of an image, which is by our partner ServerSave. Notice over here on the right-hand side, it has built-in central management. So if you have it installed on your PC, you can do that and control all the machine backups. You would just basically very simply set up a backup, select your disk you want to back up, and you select your network location, tell it where to go. Okay, you go to a NAS drive, Windows Network Share, anything you like. You go to a local drive. However, we don't always recommend that because if your server has a power surge, it could fry the drive inside of it, but it is possible. You would choose one of these backup methods here. Actually, we recommend continuous incrementals. That seems to be our partner's favorite backup type, because it uses the least local and online storage, also less maintenance for you. If you have a bunch of full backups running during the week or during the month, you're going to have to make sure you don't have free space. But this method is preferred. You can have it back up every hour or 2 hours or so. Compression, recommended as standard. That'll compress about 50%. You could add an additional password if you need to, and if you do, you can choose your encryption algorithm. Commands here to import some scripts if you need to. Image tab, there's self-healing, so there is corruption during an incremental backup. It'll actually detect that and fix it, so that's really great. Here's some performance throttling for your backup so it doesn't bring your server to its knees if you think your server is not going to be able to handle the backup. But this cover is pretty fast and efficient, and it's not going to take over and kill it. So one of the recommendations here is if you have large images and you have a slower internet connection, you might want to split them up into different pieces so the backup can actually finish. And it could be, this would recommend me if you have like a power outage or something like that. You don't want to have to re-upload your full backup image all over again. So these are just some recommendations that we forward on to you. And then execute now, run the full backup. Now, I'm not going to do that right now, but you can see here we have a bunch of other backups. It does display every little item that's happening while the backup is running, and you'll know right where it broke, and you can see all your backups. Again, you can see all this from your laptop or desktop. There is reporting under agent options. You can have success, failure reports, or both. You can tell it where to go, which SMTP server to use, and so on. Moving on, the restore. Use the restore tab here to restore an image of any disk other than the C drive, obviously, and then it'll just basically override it for you live while you're in Windows. The explore backup function, I'm going to show that to you without actually using it in the software. So I can just go to my images where they're located, and I can right-click. The export backup function is right here. It's the mount option, and this lets you mount an image of the drive letter in Windows. And you can see here, it gives you lots of information about the image. I can choose my incremental of the full and change that if I want to. I can pick the drive letter. I can actually allow it to be written to. So if that image is mounted, I can allow the changes to be saved in that image as well. And I can also just do a quick mount. And that just mounts this drive letter, the next one that's available. With me mounting that drive letter, what I would want to do with it is I want to maybe do a granted restorable file, or I might want to do an exchange recovery. I'm going to launch EGR here, and I'm going to point to the source, which is my new mounted drive letter. Right here, this G drive. I'll go to the mailbox database. Let's see here. Pardon me. Sorry guys, I mounted the wrong drive. I mounted the C drive instead of the Exchange drive. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. Here's the E. I'll just mount one of these. And then I can go and pick my source. Here we go. And you can see here we're going to the mailbox database. There's the EB file. It finds the transaction logs. It does have a little log file to keep track of the transactions we're doing in this recovery process. So you can see here I have full access to all the mailboxes. I can export anything I like to a PST or message format. I can access all the items. I can connect to a live Exchange server on the site, all mailboxes. This is what that temporary file is for. It's just keeping track of maybe errors or success or what you're doing. And once this is finished, I then have a connection to my Exchange server. So I'll simulate recovering a message for you guys. I'm just going to say that this message was lost. I can go up here, I click on mailbox or user 1, use the search tab here, type in some criteria. They told me that the subject line might have been Nortel, and it was from user 2. I click find now, and there's the message. You can open it up and look at it. There we go. And all I have to do now is just drag it over to the inbox right here. That message is now going to be restored. If the message is already there, you will get a message saying duplicate message not copied. So the duplicate protection in there as well for you. The same item can be used for drag and drop a mailbox down here. I can even do an Exchange migration by taking the whole database file and dragging it over the server name, and actually will rebuild your mailboxes for you. Any questions on that before I close it? If you have a question, can PST files be backed up while Outlook is running? Absolutely. Okay. So we had a short delay earlier with the My Account system. Sorry about that. It's because I was running a report and also trying to log in at the same time. And I think it might just be an issue with this machine, guys. Sorry about that. I'm just going to try it one more time. There we go. See how fast it was? So I want to show you these reports here. This is my favorite report. It gives me a summary of all the machines. Shows me the last backup date, total amount of backup for each machine there, so you know who's backing up more than they should. And so I showed you the reporting, the shares. You can see what shares you already have and unshare them if you feel they should be shared any longer. There's a search button, cancel, maybe change password, that kind of thing. There's also a web portal that we have. It's basically the same function, and you can log in there from your smartphone, m.manage.backup.net, and you log in, and it looks the same. You'll be able to recover or share your files. just like that. Okay, where do we want to go next, Ken?
Let's do central management.
Yes, sir. Okay. So if any online backups that are running, you can just click this button here, and you'll be able to see all your customers' backups in one place. So we thought this was helpful. Or, red lights, yellow lights aren't here because there is none at the moment, and green lights. So you can quickly see where the backups are having problems, and we have these stats to show you. You can get information about the backups that are occurring.
So we've been doing a lot of talking. Maybe we should pause for questions. Remember, you do need to ask a question in order to be entered for the Kindle drawing. So please let us know if you've got any questions. We're more than happy to answer them.
Got a question with the exchange bit. Does it work with 2003, 2007, and 2010? Absolutely. It can recover any of those Exchange Server versions.
And it can back up all three of those as well.
And it can also back them up. Any questions of anybody here?
While you're all thinking on that, that pretty much brings us to the end of the sort of the technical demo. So what we usually do now is just go through questions that anybody's got, Q&A on the partner program, any of the product stuff that we've just seen John walk us through, or just general questions about SOS. So thanks, John. That was great. And John's going to hang around and take any technical questions that you've got. We got one here from Lewis. Is there an SBS 2008 component?
The version that we use will work on SBS 2003, 2008, and 2011. So the same software package works on basically Windows 2000 and up. So there's no different version needed. And that's for the images. Backing up as an image.
And Exchange recovery too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So another question from Lewis. Can SOS work with SBS built-in backup?
What they're trying to say is that there's a local backup installed there, and that's just back those up.
Sure. Okay, great. And again, can we, John?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Mary's got a question. Do most customers back up their own or recover their own? Mary, look, I don't know the answer to that. My sense is, and so it's only anecdotal, my sense is it's about half and half. We have a lot of partners who want to control that for their customers because they sell this as a fully managed backup service. So going back to that $129 per month per server, that's in what we would call like a self-service mode. So you put it up on your website, people buy it, they deploy it themselves, they run it. We've got partners who sell a fully managed backup service, quote unquote, which means they'll do the deployment, they'll do the monitoring, well, you will do the deployment, you will do the monitoring, and you'll handle recoveries. That's where there's a lot of margin for our partners. So that's where we see partners selling this for $400, $500 a month per server. And in that scenario, you would absolutely do all the legwork because that's the way you're justifying the much higher fee. So it really depends how you're selling this. If you're selling it in a self-service model, then the customer would do all of that stuff and only escalate to you in the case that they're having trouble. If you were doing it in a fully managed mode, then you would be doing that work. Hope that makes sense. Mark asks, can you view XLS and doc files using the iOS app on the iPad or iPhone? Yes, Mark, you can. So that works actually really nicely on the iOS app. It's a little bit more kludgy on Android, but in iOS you can just click the file and there's about 1,000 different file types that it can just view.
And on Android, if you did have like a quick office application or something like that, after you downloaded it, you'd be able to view it in that application.
Bruce has got a question. If we have a customer that experiences a major site disaster, let's say a fire, is there an option to have the backup data shipped to them for a fee, of course, overnight on a removable media drive as opposed to having to wait for a download? Absolutely, Bruce. It's the opposite of our PMU service, which stands for physical media upload. We have a physical media recovery service. Overnight in most cases, although in cases of really large volumes of data, it can take longer than that. So, yeah, we do have that service at PMR. More often than not, and you'd be surprised by this, but in nearly all cases, doing it over the wire is actually a better solution for the customer because usually you can recover down the most critical data rapidly and then recover the second tier and third tier data on a more elongated schedule. So usually we'd recommend doing it over the wire. Lewis asks, no extra licenses required. Sorry, Lewis, I think that's connected back to one of your other questions. I'm not quite clear on what you're asking me. Bruce asks, notice in the earlier slide that 8x5 support was listed as your standard support level. If we have an issue on a weekend, are we left to our own devices? Bruce, not really. We got ticket-based support over the weekend, but the
In chat.
So the primary, this is referring to our sort of partner hotline that's staffed here out of Los Angeles. A lot of our partners like dealing with our American staff. We also have a 24/7 operation that's offshore out of our Chennai operations facility, and those guys are excellent. So I highly recommend them. So we've got 8x5 here in the United States, and then 24/7 served from our Indian facility. And then James asks, is there any support with fixing backup errors? Not quite sure what you're looking for there, James. It depends what kind of backup errors you're talking about. Like errors that would occur in the backup session, the product would just fix itself. Errors that would show up, say, maybe in this central management system, these will often require your intervention because red usually means a backup didn't run at all, right? So yellow would indicate that a backup ran with a couple of file errors. That's less common. But these reds will usually require you to look at them. The most obvious scenario for a red is like a computer switched off and so a backup couldn't run, if that makes sense. All right, so just recapping, the number to talk to your partner specialist is on the screen right now. It's 877-896-3611. You can call in to find out if you're the winner of the Kindle. Otherwise, we'll be emailing you in the next couple of days to let you know. Again, remember you had to have asked a question today to go in the draw for that Kindle. Are there any other questions that we can answer for you here today? David asks, as service staging, do you have a recommended NAS we can use for upload?
Well, I would say that as far as the best staging, it's always going to be a Windows box. I've seen lots of partners who go and spend $900 on a NAS, and I would say, you're not really going to move that NAS. You're just going to stay there. Why not spend $700, $800 on a Windows machine as your storage device? And there's a lot more flexibility you have with that.
And even might be cheaper.
And it even might be cheaper as well. A lot of machines have built-in RAID support. You'll be able to use Windows authentication to talk to those shares you might have. You can install our application on it, back up to the cloud much faster. Map drives to a NAS have issues sometimes disconnecting when you log on Windows. They're on a different file format usually Linux format. So a Windows machine is probably almost the same cost as a NAS, and it's recommended. So we don't recommend a NAS. We recommend any Windows device, a Windows box for that.
And David, a lot of our partners will actually sell that as a backup appliance. So it'll be David's backup appliance, and I've even heard of partners getting like stickers made up and logos that they put on these appliances and really brand them if they sell them to customers.
And then when they have a customer that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of money, they just use a desktop on site, install a bigger hard drive in it, and they use that, and it works great. And
David, were you saying Windows Storage Server would be recommended? Absolutely not. I mean, you could use Windows XP if you wanted to be really cheap, or Windows 7. So this doesn't need to be a server in any real sense of the word. It just needs to be something that will run the SOS technology. And like John said, you're talking about $800 or $900 for, and that's going to come with a few terabytes of internal storage these days. You can pick up 4 terabyte Hitachi 3.5-inch disks these days for a couple $100. So you can build a high-density on-premises staging server for under $1,000, and you can sell it to your customers for at least $2,000 or $3,000, frankly. Chris asks, can you use with Microsoft DPM 2007? Have customer currently using DPM in an environment with off-site tape only? Well, Chris, I mean, you'd replace DPM with us. You wouldn't. I mean, all due respect to Microsoft, DPM has got plenty of issues for WAN-based backup. It's not a particularly great sort of remote backup solution, particularly if you're using tape. So I'd be saying that the ideal scenario there would be to replace DPM with Chris's online backup solution, which is a far more robust, far more secure, encrypted version to archiving built-in cloud backup and disaster recovery solution.
And just based on that note, if there is any concern about what file types you back up, we don't restrict you based on file types. We can back up huge files as long as we can have our software installed on Windows box and we can see the data. We'll be able to back it up.
Right. Now, if you had to deploy it alongside DPM, you absolutely could, Chris. But in terms of the business approach here for you, I think it should be about replacing tape at your customer sites, replacing on-premises backup with your managed cloud backup service, which is, frankly, much better for your customers. It's cheaper for your customers. It's safer for your customers. So it really is win-win. You can earn very healthy margin, call it 50%, and your customers can get a product that costs them about 30% as much as traditional on-prem backup solutions like DPM or Backup Exec or Legato. Any other questions? We're running low on questions, and we're pretty much at about time for today's webinar, but we're happy to take any other questions if you've got them.
And you will get a recording of this webinar sent to you in an email tomorrow, and it'll also be posted on our website later on for viewing and reference whenever you like. And you can also get a PDF of this presentation from your partner specialist if you call into them at 877-896-3611, the number up on the screen.
Terrific. All right, well, thank you all for your time today, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon.